Welcome to Positive Productivity, episode 174. The Positive Productivity Podcast was created to empower entrepreneurs to achieve and appreciate personal and professional success. I'm your host, Kim Sutton, and if you're ready, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Positive Productivity. This is your host, Kim Sutton. I am so happy that you are here to join us today, and I am thrilled to introduce our guest, Lisa Winston, an authenticity and confidence coach. After 53 years of drama, including rape, molestation, abuse, illness, divorce, losing her home to wildfire, and breast cancer, Lisa left her 36-year music career and a 15-year relationship and went in search of her life's mission. Lisa, wow.
Congratulations. Sounds like a lot, right?
Yeah,
oh, thank you.
So much like a lot, but seriously, congratulations. I don't think that too many people, unless we've been through major life shifts like that, realize how congratulations really are in order sometimes, right? Because they think, oh, I'm sorry. But really,
I know. It's exact. First of all, Kim, I want to thank you for having me on the show because I love what you're doing. I love you. I adore you. I love the authenticity piece. And that's why we're here. So thank you for having me. And, you know, I love that you said that because it's funny when you said that, I was like, oh. And it's true. I before we started this conversation, we were talking and, you know, I was talking about how most people go through all these horrific life challenges and some are, you know, way worse than what I went through. They were bad, but they're bad for each of us. And a lot of people allow those to, you know, define them and they just get stuck there. They don't go beyond it. They don't move beyond it. So that's my message. Thank you. It wasn't easy, but I was determined. I'm a stubborn girl.
I join you on the stubborn. Lisa, I just have to share with listeners because it's just me. Yeah. Listeners, this is take two because I forgot to turn on the recorder, but I am loving take two already because I didn't even think about the congratulations before. I mean, seriously. But let me just give you an example of how stubborn I am. And I think it even played out in my own life. I will sit here with a mouse or a keyboard that is just not cooperating with me, and it will take me weeks to think to change the batteries. But we do the same thing in our whole life. Like there's just something that's not working. So we'll sit there and, well, as you said in our pre-chat chat, we were talking about it a little bit, but we settle. Whether it's in a relationship or we settle with a mouse or a keyboard that's just not doing it for us, we settle. Yeah. So I'd love, though, thank you again, and you're welcome for being here. Share more of your journey with us and what it looked like for you.
Well, I love that whole piece you're talking about settling. You know, I just told you I left a relationship 7 months ago because I did a leadership program. And it's like the more work you do on yourself, the more inner work. And I just want to speak into that briefly. And then if it's okay, I'll go into my story. But I think we settle because we're afraid there's nothing more. You know, or that's the best we can do, or we're just afraid of change. You know, when we're in our comfort zone, we've already mastered whatever it is that we've mastered or wouldn't be our comfort zone. To step outside of that is uncomfortable. Or I don't know if your mom always said, but my mom always said, hey, if you have a guy that, you know, cooks for you and holds your hand and, you know, he shows up and he's loyal and faithful, you know, keep him. But it's like, well, that's all well and good, but maybe the relationship isn't serving you in some ways, in many ways, you know, it could be emotionally detached or whatever. So that whole issue of settling is huge. And I would love to, if it comes up again, address that more.
Oh, yeah. But my mom actually was more along the lines of marry a doctor or a lawyer or be a doctor or a lawyer, right? Because that's all you need.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. And we do carry all these things around from our parents. You know, we don't know who we are. I mean, we really developed when we're kids, we were like sponges. We absorb everything our parents say and teachers and everything else. And then after a while, we just do this stuff. I mean, we grow up as adults and we have no idea who we are or what we think or, you know, or anything. So anyway, to go into my journey, you mentioned a lot of the stuff already, and I don't need to go into all of it, but my life, I suffered in my life terribly. I was fearful all the time, and I just knew I was here for something greater. I had a lot of things happen to me that were very traumatic. And yet there was just this something inside of me, you know, that kept me going, kept me moving forward. It doesn't mean I didn't have days when I was on my face, you know, praying and crying. And thank God I didn't have the hit to take myself out, because there were some pretty low days over the years, you know. But what I loved about the wildfire and the breast cancer was that was a universal 2x4. I didn't share this with you in episode 1. Okay. It was like I was studying Eckhart Tolle's books and I was reading and I was really, trying to rev up my spirituality, and I was doing Qigong and all that. And I remember reading that it's really important for us to die to self before we die, losing our attachments to things and people. And so my prayer was, before the fire, help me, Spirit, to die to self before I die. And I lost my house shortly thereafter. And then I got breast cancer. So be careful what you pray for, because if you truly want it, you'll truly get it. And yeah, that was the universal 2x4. That was the catalyst that really changed my entire life. And I'm really grateful. It was all a gift.
I had never heard that. Die to self. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. I also said I was burnt out on my music career too. And then all my stuff got burnt. I'm a powerful manifester.
Yes, you are.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with everything that you went through, and I know you're an authenticity and confidence coach, or that's a portion of what you do today, how much was confidence or lack of confidence playing in your life before you had your shift?
Oh, it was huge. I had no confidence. I was a victim. I was scared of everything, my own shadow. I didn't think I was worthy of anything. I didn't think I was capable of anything. I went through school and I'm almost 60, 59. And back then, they didn't have labels for ADD, ADHD, all that. They just thought you were stupid. And they would say, sit there. So I didn't do very well in math or, biology or any of that stuff. And I felt that I was incapable and stupid. And literally the guidance counselor said, just sit there. So, when I came out into the real world, I really felt that I was incapable of anything. And so I kept myself very small. And, and then my family had this whole idea about, how we had mental illness in our family, depression, anxiety. And so I just thought I was damaged goods, and that's just the way I came in and that's the way it was going to be. But confidence was not part of my being at all until probably after I left, with the fire and the breast cancer. That's when I started really doing the deep work, and that's when everything changed for me.
So what does it look like now in your life?
Well, I don't know. That's a loaded question, girl.
Oh, I know. Please don't ask me, because I have no idea.
I know. I've heard some of your stuff. I love it because you're honest and you're authentic and transparent and vulnerable. And I love that because that's what I'm all about. But I know they people expect us when we're doing things in the world, they're perfect. No, are you kidding me? I mean, the deeper work you do, the deeper it goes. When you're committed on this journey to greatness and, helping change the world and supporting people in transformation and all that, you get tested. Like you can't get out there and teach it if you're not living it, if you're not, learning it. So life has been two-sided for me. And that is, life is this wave. We ride the wave. We have our up days. We have our down days. There's really no good or bad. It just is. If we can get present to that whatever's happening is okay, because that's what is. But in reality, it was like, my life really consists of some very low lows, lots of clearing. I live with a coach. She's a dear soul sister of mine, and we support each other through all the changes and, the ups and the downs and the clearing and all that stuff. And then there have been magnificent days for me, more than I can even tell you, where there's incredible amounts of joy and clarity and downloads and information and taking those next steps and that alignment piece. And the more that we do that, the more joy we have. But you got to remember, we're human, 3D. So we can only hold that high vibration of love for a short amount of time. And then, oops, guess what? We're human again. So we come back down, right? And then we get our next piece. So it's this beautiful dance between the yin and yang, between the what people might label the good and bad, which isn't good and bad. It just is the dance of life. And you get to ride it or not, I always say. It's your choice. But it's pretty amazing. It
is pretty amazing. I'd never thought about it of how it's not good or bad, how it's the dance of life. Wow.
Yeah. And that's part of mindset too, because and even me, I teach mindset, but I say things sometimes. I remember when I was doing an interview with Joe Vitale, and he was talking about he had worked with Melissa Etheridge. It was on his music. And he said to me, and he's done books and movies and all kinds of things. And he said she called him out on self-talk and mindset stuff that he didn't even know he was doing. So we always have that piece But as long as we're moving forward and we're always, catching ourselves, and you got to remember, life mastery is practice. We all come in flying by the seat of our pants. We all want a magic pill. We all think we should be this way, this perfection, this whatever this thing looks like to us, right? But we're imperfect as humans. Our souls may be perfect, and we're here to have the experiences. And you can't grow without some pain and some experience. And so, again, it's really beautiful, but you get to start practicing your mindset. You get to start looking how life is happening for you, not to you. And then that takes you out of that victim stance. So lots of things to work on, some basic pieces that can really shift your ways of being around if you get it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm over here laughing, completely unrelated to anything that you said. But seriously, life is not always perfect, but it's to be experienced. In our pre-chat chat, right before I thought I pushed record, the bottle of soy sauce on my desk that I didn't even know how it got here tipped over.
I love it.
Well, all of a sudden, just while you were talking, I started smelling soy sauce. This is completely unrelated. Okay, but this is me being authentic. And I realized, but I had to laugh about it, that I have a huge puddle of soy sauce on my on my desk. Okay, but I have to laugh because it's just part of this journey. It's not perfect. I mean, I live out of a laundry basket because there are more important things in my head for me to be doing. And to be totally honest, the kid whose responsibility that falls on, I would rather that he clean the litter boxes some days.
Right.
Because it smells better. But, I don't have a problem living out of the laundry basket because it means that I can spend more time with my family enjoying that time. Or, as long as I don't smell when I go out, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I love that.
Let's just be real. Yeah. And we have to we get to enjoy life. We get to do what we do. We don't have to do it. So let's get to do what we want to do.
And what I love about that is that we're all chasing some ideal, of this perfection. And like you said, life is happening. And if you're, I have to say I'm a recovering perfectionist, and, I still have days I go there and things I haven't let go of. But it's like, if we don't take time to smell the roses, if we don't enjoy the present moment, like you with your kids, it's like my mother used to say to me, because I was so anal about cleaning everything all the time. And she said, oh, when you die and you go to your grave, what are you going to have on your tombstone? And I was like, well, I had a clean house. Well, that's boring. So I decided to have a lot less clean and a lot more, being in the flow and enjoying and taking time for myself and smelling the roses. So especially when your kids are young like that, they're not going to be young forever. You get to enjoy that. That's a gift.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think I've shared this on the podcast once before, but there was a day when, actually it was probably 2 years ago now, when the whole rest, meaning 4 out of the house, had the flu. And 3 of us were healthy. And my 4-year-old was 2 at the time, and she didn't have it, and I didn't have it. And while I was taking care of some of the others, she found a Sharpie.
Oh, no.
And on the underside of the toilet seat, she drew a big smiley face.
I love it.
And I know some listeners, especially those who have a much cleaner house than me, are going to be like, ew. But I left it on there for longer than it should have been on there, considering it was a toilet seat and we had the flu going through. But it was just so happy.
I love it.
It was just hysterical to be able to go into the bathroom, lift up the toilet seat, and see a smiley face.
And that's what I love. Yeah, I love that about kids.
Every single wall in my house, except for the walls of my bedroom, I don't know how it happened, are decorated with marker, colored pencil, or crayons. I don't know where they find these things, but they do. And now every single surface is decorated. And my 4-year-old will blame it on her little sister, but then we'll find a picture of my husband complete with a goatee.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So we know it's not one of the younger ones.
Yeah. Well, I love it because it's like you have an artist house, it's a work in progress. And I love that because I'm an artist, creative. And, we don't let our kids do that. God, we grow up with such constriction in our lives. Don't do this, don't do that. And we can't breathe. And then we wonder why we have no flow when we get older. So I love that, let them have at it and enjoy the artwork because, again, it's temporary.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you should post pictures. I think you should put up pictures of what your walls look like so we can all see the artwork.
Well, I have to be completely transparent with you and honest. And this is a perfect episode to come clean on this. The reason why I haven't been doing video up until now was because I didn't want to be judged on the state of my house.
And you get to bust through that people pleasing. Just saying, who cares? Like, nobody gets to judge you in your house.
Yeah, listeners, you are not alone if your house is not impeccable. I mean, I already admitted while I'm recording this, I have a puddle of soy sauce on my desk. It's making me hungry, actually. Now I'm wanting rice. No, I will not eat off my desk, listeners.
No, but I love it because, I told you I had an office last place I lived, really nice looking, like I did my summits and everything was all perfect. I was like, oh, people think it looks so, important and impressive. And I'm now in a different place and I'm actually doing this podcast out of my bedroom because it's the best place, the most quiet place for me to do it. I've got my bed in the background and, you saw my little wall hanging back there. And I was like, I don't really care what people think about my space. They don't get to judge me. So you get to do whatever you want to do. And I would love to see your walls. Just saying.
Oh, absolutely. Listeners, in the show notes, which you can find at thekimsutton.com/PP174, there will be a picture of the toilet seat at least. And I will try to take some pictures of the walls. That's actually what I've had to get over to is stop saying I'll try, and I will.
Right, just do it, right?
I will take some pictures of all the magnificent wall art. Maybe we'll even get some more before this episode is released to share. So now you have transformed and you're helping people say yes to everything so that they can grow themselves and up level.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother piece because it's like if you're saying yes to the wrong things, right, there are sacrifices. What are you saying no to?
I was just about to ask about that.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting, there are a lot of places we can go. As far as what I do with people is what I do because, we follow people because of their fire, what they've done. And I've pushed through so much. And every time something comes that's hard, I say yes to it, even if it has me on my face, on my knees. That's why I have mentors and coaches and support and friends. And, I'm always working it because I just want to be, not perfect, but, there's a saying we can do, good, better, and best. So it's our next step, where do we get to go next? So, that's how I live my life. And because of it, I've gotten stronger, my courage, my grit, my fortitude, my tenacity, my, kick butt. It's like, I'm a feminine flowy, but I've got this fire inside of me as well. And it's like, I think you had asked me on the unrecorded episode, about how that was showing up for me in my life. And what I wanted to share is that, when we're victims, we're squishy inside. Like we can't stand up in our power. We have trouble saying no to people and we feel uncertain and we're conflicted and we have all these things that go around in our heads, these conversations. And when you start really standing in your power, it doesn't mean that you never have moments of being a victim or feeling like a victim or having those old conversations come back in. But there's this alignment that takes place. And like I went back to see my family just recently and I was like a whole different person and I got a whole different response from my family. I was not treated the way I had been most of my life because I was different. So because I'm doing the work, I have this alignment where I stand in my power. I stand in my truth. I'm unapologetic. I'm unshakable. I'm unstoppable because I know me and I'm still a work in progress, right? We're students of life for life till the day we're off the planet, but we get better and better and better. And there's this thing that happens. There's this magic that happens when you keep doing the work and you jump all in and you don't let life define you. It's like diamonds are made under pressure and we're all diamonds in the rough. And when you start feeling solid and you don't allow people, I've had people come in because, we were talking about cussing and I've been known to let a couple expletives fly on my Facebook lives when I get really, amped up about something. And I've had big people, in the industry and I was like, well, if you talk like that, you're never going to get anywhere and you should stop that. And it's like, oh, well, you get to be you and I get to be me. And I've blocked a few of them because it's not out of anger. It's just I get to be me and you don't get to tell me who I am. And I get to stand in that. So it's a powerful space, a very powerful space.
It's funny that you brought up the cussing because while you were talking about diamonds being created under pressure, I was thinking, and I'll modify this a little bit, well, then you and I are effing 50 karat diamonds at least.
You think? Yeah, no kidding. We got like a lot of facets and they're really shiny and they're really priceless.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And it's worth it. It's a journey worth taking. A lot of people don't. I think a long time ago when I thought about getting into spirituality, there are a lot of concepts that go around, but people are always like, well, if you start that, it's going to be really hard. Well, yeah, sometimes it is, but it's also really, like, I know you've had this same experience as I've had, where these things happen and you're on your face in awe and gratitude, and you can't even describe the feelings of love and joy that you have in your heart because they're divine. They don't come from you. So I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to miss out on those moments for anything.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Lisa, you mentioned that. Are you currently a born-again Christian, or you went through that? Like, I'm just wondering, for you anyway, how it aligned with your new walk of spirituality. Because I know for me, and sorry, I ask you a question and I just don't even let you finish. I was raised Catholic, then and it just, to say it didn't take, it would probably be fair. I mean, I understood Christianity, but I really didn't understand Christianity. Then 30 years went by and I was introduced to the law of attraction. And then within a year, I was brought back to the Christian faith, which is as strong for me as ever. But law of attraction and mindset are very important to me. And now I have to say I've found a happy medium with Joel Osteen, to be completely
I love Joel. Oh my gosh. He's like my favorite of all times. He's like the best of both worlds. And he's the person that does the stuff and says the things that, a lot of the other pastors have never done. Not that I haven't heard some good messages, from other pastors, but he just sparks things in people that are amazing.
Absolutely. And I actually don't like how people call it the prosperity Bible, because I think that gives it a bad rep.
Yeah, it does.
I think there's so much deeper of a message to be gotten there. Like, The Power of I Am was probably one of the most impactful books that I've ever read. I mean, I can ask 100 entrepreneurs what their most impactful book was, and a lot of them will say Think and Grow Rich, which I've read, but it was nowhere up there for me as The Power of I Am, because I'd never thought about it before.
And I love that. Yeah.
But we have the right to say who we are. I am. And I know that I am is also talking about God. But who are we?
I am not a born-again Christian again, because I was in a congregation. I actually went into a Messianic congregation with my ex-husband. He was Jewish, and preached the gospel, the Jewishness of the gospel to the Christian churches and all that, and did all that stuff, and was in ministry for a lot of years. And there was a lot of church abuse that went on where I was, the places that I was. And there was a point in time when I was having trouble with my ex-husband that I almost put a gun to my head because of it. But anyway, I almost put a gun to my head one day because of it. Because like I said, the community, gathered around me. But it was kind of like when I was in an abusive situation. But the conversation was, you don't leave an abusive situation with a child. Well, it's like, well, you don't stay in one, when it's really bad. So I ended up leaving the church altogether. And I go to non-denominational, congregations and churches and gatherings now, because I really believe, the power of Jesus. And, when I lost my house to fire, there was a lady next door to me that was a born again Christian. And she said, well, you don't have a relationship with Jesus. That's why your house burned down. And I was livid when she said that. And I said to her, excuse me, but I have an incredible relationship with Jesus and with God. And that's not why my house burned down. So I feel like there's such truth in the Bible. And I believe that we get to not always listen to what other people say we should do, but we get to actually go within and have a conversation ourselves about what that truth is, because there's big truth there. So I'm kind of
just enrages me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Well, she's the kind of person that gives Christianity a bad name,
Right. I remember, and here's one of the things about growing up Catholic. Maybe this is the wrong reason to say that it didn't stick very well, but I remember leaving service with my mom and pulling out of the parking lot, and somebody didn't like how the church parking lot was just set up way wrong. And somebody actually flipped her off in the parking lot. It's like, really? You just sat through the same service we did.
Yeah.
I remember no messages from any of the services I went to as a child. But how can you walk out of service and go flip off somebody in the church parking lot? How does that make any sense?
Yeah, because they're not walking the inner path walk. They're just, a lot of people go because they think it's the right thing to do or whatever. But that's what I thought too. I was like, the church is full of a lot of hypocrites, but you know what? The planet is full of that. We're all imperfect. It doesn't matter where we are, who we are. But yeah, that's disturbing that they get to be them and we get to move away from that. Right.
Yeah.
And we get to love them anyway. Send them love.
And there's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's a huge parallel that I've seen in the entrepreneurial space. People go to church and they dress up in their Sunday best, and that's who they want to be seen as. And entrepreneurs sometimes do it the same way. They'll get on video. This is my segue. This is how I need to get started. They get on full face and makeup, perfect looking house, but it's not how it is, or even just a perfect looking desk, because let's be honest, everything could be just shoved behind the monitor.
Well, you should see me. I've done Facebook Lives with mask on, the mask challenge, all kinds of things, because it's like, let's get real people. It's so funny because when you call people to authenticity, especially on Facebook, they're so scared of visibility. And there are a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, there are people all over the world that are weird and something bad's going to happen. I'm like, get over yourself if you say so. But when you call people to really get authentic and post things, like no makeup challenges and all that, it's like you can hear crickets. So we need to go deeper with authenticity somehow. And that's not my entire message right now. But if you don't know who you are, how can you show up powerfully and change the world if you don't know who you are? That's where it all starts.
Oh, absolutely. And I've talked about how I go to the daycare to pick up my kids in sweatsuits and my mama here don't care hat. But I haven't shared a picture of that in my no makeup face to Facebook just because I didn't want to be judged.
I love that.
That's done.
I love that. You're getting all kinds of challenges today. That is so cool. I want to say congratulations to you for taking the challenge. Because so many of us are scared, and it's kind of like it's time for us just to let that go. The people pleasing thing doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to like you. Everybody's looking through different colored glasses. You get to be you, and they get to have their opinions, but you get to be you, period. And if they don't like you, they can go to somebody else's tribe.
What does a day in the life of you look like? Is there any regularity? I know that was a complete
No, are you kidding? No. I'm a flowy, empathetic, intuitive, creative. Are you kidding? I've been working with coaches for years, and a lot of the business building stuff I really despise. I do because I want to just fly by the seat of my pants, do what I want, la la la, and it's hard work having to learn structure. There are days that I am really successful at it. There are days I fail miserably. And I continue moving forward because, you get to learn how to build a business. You can have a business that looks any way you want to. I mean, eventually, when I went to work with Dr. D. one time, he was talking about, he travels like 365 days a year and lives on his ship every once in a while. And I said to him, so how do you do all the things that you do? And he goes, I don't. He said, I delegate. He said, I have people running my company. He said, I research, teach, and travel. That's all I do because that's what I love to do. And that's why I feel so young. And that really stuck with me. And, at first when you're building a business, you can't always do that because you have to put certain things in place and become visible and all that. But there's a point where you get to do what you love because that's where the impact comes from. That's where the prosperity comes from, being in your flow. So it's an imperfect journey. And I know it is for everybody. I always say this. It's like Tony Robbins has bad days. Oprah has bad days. Everybody has bad days. Nobody's perfect. Doesn't matter what level you're at.
In the summer 2015, I was trying to create a whole big online product, which, to be totally honest, I had no passion about, but it was along the lines of what I saw everybody else doing.
Right.
And I was trying to rip off their products, not directly, but create something that was like theirs. And yeah.
I did that too with my coach.
Yeah. But I even thought, this was pre-podcasting, obviously. I even thought that I had to record each lesson in one take. And there was a point where I flubbered like halfway through the video. And my husband was sitting behind me and he's like, he sees me have this complete meltdown. Like I'm crying here at my desk. He says, babe, do you think, okay, listeners, my husband doesn't say this to insult people. He says, do you think old girl has a meltdown when she has a blooper in the middle of a video? He was actually talking about Amy Porterfield. Please, listeners, don't tell people or don't tell Amy Porterfield that my husband referred to her as old girl. And he's like, no, she stops. She probably cusses for a good second. She takes a deep breath and then she keeps on going. That's what.
Yeah.
That was a huge aha. I was like, okay. Well, to be completely honest, that course was about Facebook, which I don't really care about Facebook.
I don't care about. I'm so sick of social media. But I mean, it's like you have to be a part of it to a certain degree, but I just really don't care about it either. I don't.
Right. But I was trying to tell people how to set up their page. The next week, Facebook redesigned. Like I had finally finished recording all my videos and they redesigned.
Of course.
Well, I more than cussed. And I was like, the bleep with this product, I'm not doing this anymore. And that was the beginning of a whole probably 6 to 9 months of what the heck am I doing? You know, what am I trying to do? And it took 9 months to finally realize, and in a couple very insightful messages or conversations with friends, to realize I needed to stop chasing what everybody else was doing and the goal and the income that they were making, and be true to me.
Yes. I've always said to people, I mean, we get to have money to run our businesses and live a good life. Absolutely. That's the byproduct of service. But, you know, for me, it's like, do I want a $20 million business? Well, if it would happen, I would get help doing it. But that's not my vision for myself. At my age, I don't see myself like running this big kingdom, you know, because I want to go out and live life and enjoy too. So that's just me personally. But that's a really important conversation about, you know, and that's, I love that you brought that up, because that really is part of the journey, right? We do something one way for a couple of years, and then we were like, why is that so heavy? Why does that feel so hard? Why is it not working? And then we go another route because we realize it's a layer of, you know, who we aren't, the inauthentic us that's being, I mean, I told you, I'm transitioning now again for like the 40th time in the last 5 years. And I ran into, I was staffing an event for my friend, Brian Wetton and his wife in LA. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Brothers Corral. They open for Pink and Coldplay and people like that. Well, I had a conversation with them because they perform for us. They're actually clients of Brian and Nicole's. And they did a process where, you know, they'd go around the room and we had to close our eyes, and they were playing a melody and they're like, just let whatever comes out come out. I've been singing for 40 years and I was terrified, but they tapped on my shoulder and I did it. And they ended up using that for the song that they were writing. And they came up to me afterwards and we had a conversation, and they were like, we love your voice. And I was blown away because I've really put my music, like I compartmentalized it. It's like, how can I bring music and art, you know, into coaching? Well, that's who I am. And probably the coaching's hard because I haven't been doing my creative stuff. And so Spirit really brought a new piece back to me. So that's why that saying yes piece, where when you feel led to go, you and I were just talking about this, where we go to events or we meet people, right, that are brought to us. We get to say yes when we feel that alignment, when we feel that hit. Even when we question it, we don't know why we're going where we're going or being called to a certain place. We go there because every time we do that, we find some nugget that leads us to our next step, our next clue about where it is that we're supposed to go or who we're supposed to become. And it's always a journey too. I mean, people think that they need to be in one profession forever, but we're always moving and shifting and changing. And the more work we do, as you know, we both do, you start becoming more and different, and then you move into something else. So it's just this constant, you know, the dance. It's riding the wave. And it never stops. I don't know how many high power coaches I've talked to that had businesses for 10 years, 20 years, and got called to 3 or 4 different things, stopped their businesses, shut them down, and went into the next piece. So that's just a part of the journey. I
can't even imagine what my life would be like if I was still doing what I went to college for.
Oh, I know, right? Can you imagine? What did you go to college for?
This is the hilarious part. I went to school for interior architecture. I went to one of the top art schools in the country.
Wow.
In my house, you would completely not know.
Yeah. Well, but you're not that anymore.
Oh, it didn't take me long in the field to realize I wasn't that. Yeah. I think that interior architecture and interior design is absolutely fabulous. I love walking into a space that it's been designed well. Mm-hmm. However, the industry itself seemed very materialistic. And maybe that should have been a clue way back then that I am not about materialism at all.
But you needed that clearly, because I believe everything we do has a purpose and a place. And there's always a time. We were talking about that too. You know, it's like if we dismiss those parts of ourselves that, you know, the time that we've taken to, like I went to school to be an elementary teacher, you know, whatever it is that we've done, it's made us more of who we are. And it's just that one piece of the journey, you know? So yeah, it's all good.
Absolutely. Had it not happened like that, and my first husband and I were high school sweethearts, but we moved to New York City to be together after college and had our first son, and then moved to Ohio and had our second. And had that not happened, then I wouldn't have met my husband, and life just goes on. So
I love that.
While I greatly dislike the fact that I'm still paying off student loans for a year I'm not even in.
I know.
everything for a reason, but I'll be paying for these children for a long time too, and they're worth the price.
You're darn straight they are. Yeah, I only had one. I can't imagine having 5, but God bless you for that. You're raising conscious children. I love that.
Lisa, what would you say your why is today? I'm not even going to say, I'm not going to take it bigger because I have a feeling that you and I, our whys could change regularly. But right now, what is your why?
My why, because, and I'm sure you've had this experience. There are days that we're tired. We work hard. We work, we do a lot of inner work. We're always doing something to get better. And there are days, frankly, I'm not a quitter, but there are days I've felt like, I just go get a job or, just I'm tired. I want to go sit at the beach and look at the water for a while, And the big why that keeps coming back to me, as a matter of fact, one of my coaches had offered to create a position in her company for me, as being more of an entrepreneur as opposed to an entrepreneur. And that gave me a lot of clarity when that happened. I was grateful for the opportunity or the offer. But what I realized is that I haven't gotten exactly to where it is I'm supposed to be next, the bigger piece. I'm moving into some speaking and things like that. But it's like, my why is I feel in my soul that I'm here to impact a lot of people in a greater way. And how that's going to happen, I don't really know. I'm just trusting the process. But I don't get to quit. If I had to get a day job for any reason, whatever, there's no judgment there. I would do that, right? But I will never quit. I will keep moving forward because God put me here on this planet for a reason. And I know that. And I will get to it. That's my why. It's just this burning thing inside of my heart that just doesn't turn off. It just keeps burning brighter and brighter. And I keep going, okay, I see it, I hear it, I feel it. Okay. That's my why.
I find it interesting that you said if you have to go get a day job, because it's crossed my mind, but I've realized that is something I can't do because I've thought about it so many times. And as soon as I think about it, then whatever struggle we're facing around here, not instantly, but very quickly thereafter shifts and turns back around. And I know there is a big difference between cost of living for the two of us. I mean, I'm in Ohio where cost of living is ridiculously inexpensive. We probably pay more for our animals and our kids every month than we do for our house, right?
Yeah.
But if the house is paid and the utilities, everything's not necessarily okay because there's a lot more that takes making an awesome life, including communication. But it really doesn't take that much to take care of that. But again, that could be a lot more because I am here in Ohio versus California or New York or any other major metropolitan area where listeners might be tuning in from.
Yeah. And I'd love to speak into that too, because that's one of my stretches. This mindset about, again, going back to my parents' beliefs and stuff, it was always about, you don't go and get another job till you have another job in place. You don't spend money until you have money, right? This lack concept about, constriction and hold on and wait, don't move forward. And my biggest challenge came, it's like when I've acquired a lot of debt over the years and spent a lot of money on coaching and programs and courses and moving forward and building my business. And there comes a point when everything slows down and you kind of bottom out. You get to the pit. And this happens with so many coaches, so many people that are in this, this spiritual work, conscious work, where it's like God says to you, well, okay, you can freak out. You have choices. You can freak out. You can, try to go get a loan. You can go get a day job. There are lots of things you can do. But what if, and this is what my current coach had said to me, early on, what if you just made the commitment to doing whatever it takes? Like, when you have no money, committing to hiring an assistant, this is what I did, hiring a coach that was $1,500 a month, plus bills, plus, living expenses and building your business. And there was literally there were no resources. And the funny thing is that I said yes to it only because normally I would be freaking out, but I had this alignment. I had this, every time I said yes to a commitment, I was like, my mind was going, holy crap, what are you doing? But I had this peace. I had this inner alignment. I felt solid. Even when I didn't know how, or why or where or anything. Every decision I made, I came from a space of solid alignment. And of course, our heads want to take us in 40 directions. We're not safe. Danger, Will Robinson, And I really feel that we're all being called to a deeper walk. So if we're here to really impact the world in a great way, because I want to just put this out there right now. And that is, there are a lot of people on the planet right now in the coaching industry that are completely out of integrity. They're out of integrity. They're just
yes,
sucking money from people, and they're lying to people.
Have
and I'm
you
sick
ever
of it.
been asked how much money you had available on a credit card or how many credit cards you had?
No.
When being interviewed
No.
or interviewing a coach?
No.
I've had it happen multiple times.
Well, that's not okay.
No, it's absolutely not
Nobody's
okay.
business, first of all.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, we can challenge ourselves to up-level our life personally and professionally. And it does take a step outside the comfort zone. When I started my business in 2012, I was uncomfortable. This is embarrassing. I was uncomfortable paying GoDaddy $10 a month for my hosting.
Yeah, but
it's not the only expense I had at that time.
Yeah, but it's not embarrassing because, that's where we all start. That's why people go and they buy, a $10 program and a $57 program, or they get all these freebies, right? And then they have all this stuff sitting on their computer. They have no accountability, no support, no handholding, no nothing. They end up not doing anything. And they think that they're saving money, but in reality, they just spent $10,000 on, 55 products that were cheap.
That they'll never use because they're sitting on a hard drive collecting virtual dust.
And they're not, it's that shiny object syndrome where, we're it's out of desperation. It's like, oh my God, I need this, I need it. And it's like, you're not focusing on one thing. You're in your head, you're in lack, you're in desperation. And see, that's where I love this, because I really feel like, again, those of us in this business are being called to be what it is that we're here to teach. Like, if we're not living it, we haven't experienced it, then we can't teach it. Like, that would feel to me like being a fraud, And so I feel like we're being called to be tested on a greater level. Again, that saying yes and allowing life to refine you and allowing yourself to be stripped naked, completely naked, like not knowing where you're going, where it's coming from, like not knowing anything, like, putting your hands out and surrender and just saying, okay, God, I don't know. You're telling me I'm aligned. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm scared. Like, I've never done this before, but I trust you're going to take me there. And then it's one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. And that's what I think we're being called to. I am being called to that. And it's super uncomfortable, but I'm doing it anyway.
Lisa, probably about a year ago at this time, I saw an invitation to apply for a mastermind, and it looked like a great opportunity. The person who promoted it is a mentor that I had been following for quite some time, and I wasn't really familiar with the woman who was running it, but I applied anyway, and I ended up having a conversation with her. But at that time, there were so many struggles that were going on in my life financially that I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I actually put out the challenges with her, and I said, what would you do? And I was amazed that the response back was, I don't want you to sign up right now. I'm not looking to bankrupt you by having you join this program.
Yeah.
And I gained so much respect for her off of that. Just knowing that she didn't say, go ask for a loan. It's sort of like when the collections people call and they want to know if you can make a payment. Or, well, is there anybody who can help you?
Yeah.
Well, I know it's your job. Thankfully, I haven't had to deal with one of these calls in quite some time, but don't ask me that. If there were people that could help, then I've probably already tapped them for much more than I should have. Yeah. And then right before our call, I'm not going to mention names, but I've already told you I was on a call about a new mastermind. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want to make sure that whoever joins, it's financially the best decision at this time. Yeah. And there's just so much respect there. If you're a coach, please know, number one, that your product is going to, without a doubt, change the life of the people or person who's entering it. And don't ask them to go get 10 new credit cards and go to family to get loans to join your program, because just don't.
Well, that's what I was taught, by my first coach, and I did it. And I've had people do that because they really wanted to work with me. But in reality, we're not in the business of convincing anybody about anything. And in reality, I believe that if we are aligned with our purpose and our message, and and we really resonate with somebody, they really are called to us, that's an attractor factor. It's like, we magnetize people to us.
If there's a will, there's a way, right?
Right. Well, yeah. And if there's a fear factor too, and I get that. Like some people, talk about, it's like they want to change, but and they know that they want to do it. I've had that experience with coaching clients that are like, they make a call and they're like, I know that I'm all in. You send them a contract and then they get cold feet and they run away because they're afraid of change or terrified. And that happens. But again, there's this piece too that's timing. There are a lot of people that will come back in a year or two, when they're ready or they've grown more or whatever. So there are a lot of pieces to that puzzle. But yeah, we're not in the business of lying and convincing. And I hate the word selling, by the way. It's really enrolling people in their vision, but it's not about selling anything.
Ooh, can I borrow that? Enrolling people in their vision. I absolutely love that.
It is, enrolling people. I mean, in whatever it is that they're here to do. That's so funny. I was just talking about my coach and she popped up online. Her ears must be burning.
Oh, absolutely. Lisa, I have a few questions about you and your business. Lisa, do you keep a to-do list?
I do.
How many items do you keep visible to you at any one point? Or is it as many items as are on the to-do list as a whole?
Well, let me tell you what I do, because I'm a visual.
Yes, please.
So I get those huge Post-it notes that are pink and yellow and blue, and I get my big Sharpies. And what I do is I have various ones. Like I have a huge Post-it note up here with all my podcast interviews when they're happening. I also have them in my calendar, and I have my assistant do that too. But I have probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 big projects coming up. Plus I'm working with 2 coaches and doing a lot there. But that's overwhelming. So I kind of keep track of what it is I have to do overall. And I have an idea of when that has to happen, on the calendar. But in reality, I can only take on maybe 2 pieces a day. That's besides, like sending out an email to my list and that kind of stuff. But you can't focus on anything well if you're doing 10 different pieces at one time. And that's the way that I used to fly all the time. And there are days I still do that, because there's a lot to do. But again, if you've got to make time for yourself, first of all. I used to work 16-hour days and I was killing myself. For what? So what I do now is I really literally have, say, 2 things that I have to really focus on. I get to focus on in a day's time. And then I go through and I make check marks because that's how I do it. That's just the way I do it. Kind of old fashioned, but it works for me.
No, thank you. I try to keep no more than 3 in front of me at any given point.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't look at the big project. I just look at the tasks.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Because if I tell myself, listeners, it's been a month since my websites were hacked as of the time of this recording, and I'm not even finished rebuilding one. But I'm not going to put up there on my task list or on my to-do list, rebuild thekimsutton.com. I'm going to put up there, okay, today I need to tackle this page or this post, because it's not just about the pages. It's about getting all the podcast episodes back up. So you use Post-its. Are there any tech tools that you like for keeping track of everything?
Boy, I use various things. I just actually got Infusionsoft because I had wanted to do that and it wasn't the timing. But, to automate things and now I guess I probably have to hire somebody to actually run that because they were trying to train me and, me in technical stuff. I'm like, bleh. And I have a VA who could probably do it too. But so I'm trying to.
No, that's what I do as a paid job, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Well,
that would
when it's time. Yeah, I'm just doing emails right now. Okay, you're so funny. Yeah.
This was not pre-rehearsed, listeners.
No, I know. Yeah. It wasn't. That's so cool. That's right. I totally forgot until you said that. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You do that.
Yeah, take the Infusionsoft out of Infusionsoft.
Infusionsoft, yes. It's an amazing tool, but there's a lot to learn. And when you're doing, lots of different things, it's hard to do that. So I really want to automate. I want to simplify. I get to find ways of working smarter, not harder, which is what I had been doing for years. But basically, I'm very simple. I still have my Google Calendar and like B.E.T.T.E.R and my computer. And, I used to have Hootsuite, all kinds of things. And after a while, right, you get so many different platforms, you can't even keep track of them anymore. So I'm in the process right now. Like I said, I hired an assistant. So I'm in the process of organizing and, making things more simple because I had way too many things before that. Nobody can work efficiently when they have that happening.
No, absolutely not. My first proposals that I was sending out when I started the business in 2012 actually told people that I was a phenomenal multitasker and proud of it. Looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I actually even got hired. Clearly, those people didn't realize that multitasking is bad.
It is. And another suggestion too for people when you're out there, everybody, there's social media and now that, there's Instagram and there's Periscope and there's all this stuff. And for me, when I hear that, I just shut down. I'm like, oh my gosh, one more social media piece. Really? I mean, who has time in a day to do all that? So, it's just a matter of picking, like you said, 1, 2, 3 things maybe, and doing it daily and just focusing, putting your focus there and letting all of it build from that space. You can't do it all and you shouldn't have to.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder too.
Yeah. I actually had a mom of twins ask me the other night how I do everything. And I just told her I don't.
Yeah.
That's why I love that. My laundry baskets. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an honest answer. I love that.
Yeah. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us here today. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Just thank you. I can't wait to have you back on the show again in the future. Where can listeners find you online, connect, and get to know more about you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, just go to yesequalssuccess.com, yesequalssuccess.com, and that will have all of my information on that page. Easy as that.
Oh, that is so easy.
Yeah.
Listeners, you can find any of the books that we talked about, show notes, the transcript at thekimsutton.com/pp174.
So what I have for your listeners today is a free gift. It's a toolkit, and I'm actually developing some new ones because I've had these for a while. But my whole deal is, make it simple, get the easy button out, right? And nobody has a ton of time in a day. I know it's all about making time, not having time, but I have a kit that I'd actually love to share because I feel it's very foundational, and it's called the Essential Daily Toolkit. It consists of a couple of meditations for grounding, and there's one that Spirit gave me years ago. It's called the Love Expansion Meditation, and my own clients and myself have experienced profound shifts by actually committing to doing that process every day, where the love, ripples out and it comes back in. It really expands your own self-love, but divine love. You feel it in your heart at a really amazing, level where you can sit in it. You've never felt like love like that before. And I believe that that's foundational to everything that we do. And then I also have my ebook, 30 Days to Discovering Your Authentic Self. And people are also welcome to, sign up for a consultation complimentary with me as well. So I like to make it easy. And that is what I'm offering everybody today, so they can get really foundational with their journey going back to basics.
Oh, awesome. And where can they get that on Yes to Success as well? Or Yes Equals Success as well?
I will have a link there for you. Yeah.
Okay. Listeners, we'll put that in the show notes, which again, you can find at thekimsutton.com/pp174. Lisa, do you have a last piece of parting advice or golden nugget that you can offer to listeners today?
Boy, I would love to just say that I know the journey is oftentimes confusing. And in reality, if you remember, number one, there are 2 things I want to leave with your listeners, and that is that life is always happening for us. It never happens to us. Even when circumstances look like they're bad, we talked about no bad, no good. It just is. There's always something, a golden nugget that comes from that. It's like sometimes you don't get a job, but thank gosh you didn't get the job because it wasn't the right job in the first place. So life is happening for us always.